bit cup, bud, so I can get me a big old dip.
Hell yeah. Hey, you know that microwave food's bad for you.
Yeah, I don't mess with that radiation that often.
Hell yeah. I'm eating healthy shit like 7-Eleven corn dogs.
The apple juice makes up for it, though, so you're good.
Hell yeah. Hold on. I lost something. Hold on, bro. Damn, I'm sitting on my pipe, yo. This damn $90 pipe.
How you got a $90 pipe and an $80 house?
Shit. You know what I'm saying? Donald Trump bought me this motherfucker. Dude,
Can't talk about my president.
I don't want to
Yeah.
hear nobody talking shit about my president.
Don't
Hell
forget your
no.
boy come November.
Yeah.
Okay, what is Brandon's gamer tag so I can put that down?
Victory, but he spells it wrong. How do you spell your name? How do you spell your gamer tag? Victory. He's passed on to the shadow realm.
Oh, he may have done something.
Oh no, you did something.
Well, the app.
What I do?
There you
Can
go.
you still hear me?
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's just Victory. Instead of having a C, just put a K in there, and you're good to go.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
All right. I don't know if you've been listening to the podcast, but they like to joke around a lot about some redneck stuff. So just kind of go along
What
with
the hell
it.
are you talking about?
If they start on that, just kind of go with them.
The hell?
Oh, I'm from up here in
Shit,
Canada.
redneck shit.
We have our own little redneck shit up here. It's all good. I'll be able to fit right in.
Cool.
Where'd you say?
I'm from up in Canada.
He ain't know nothing about no damn Mountain Holly.
He ain't ever had no Dr. Thunder.
He ain't even. He don't even know what a holler is.
He ain't ever ate Long John Silver's.
Oh hell no!
I have Long John Silver's. I have. It's fantastic. It's a wonderful journey.
All right. Are you guys ready?
You gonna do the intro right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. Oh my god, hang on, my cat.
The way the format goes, Victory, is she'll ask a question, and since you're the guest, you'll answer first, okay? And then we'll step in and elaborate after that, so that there aren't any awkward pauses or anything. You kind of understand that unless she specifically says one of us and asks the question, you will be the person that answers first.
You got it.
Okay. We forgot to tell the first couple of guests we had on here that was the scenario, so we had some awkward pauses.
And we were just like, "No, you go. No, you. No, you go."
All right. Hey guys, welcome back to the weekend episode of the Creators Corner. I'm here with host Mr XGN and TSB TERRORCODE on our sprawling, overgrown half-acre estate. We have our guest Victory. Victory, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hi there. KSI Viktory 7, currently the executive director of KSIGlobal.com. I've been a gamer for many years, and I'm just happy to be here, chill out, and hang out with some friends.
All right. So you are what? I'm sorry, I didn't understand. What is your rank in KSI, and which KSI is it?
All right, so I'm what they call the executive director. I'm also in .com. CEO would be kind of the equivalent rank to what you'd be familiar with.
Okay. All right.
Dude, that's crazy, dude, because I'm CEO of The Creek.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of
CEO
Creek
of the
Boy
Living Room.
International?
No, I have not.
Yeah, me either, but I'd be CEO of that shit.
Yeah. The last couple of guests that we've had on here, actually, they run businesses, and I'm pretty sure they're going to hire us to be PR guys for them.
Yeah, we'll be big-time PR agents.
Yeah. We know what's up. We know what the people want.
Yeah, we know. We know who they want, what they want, who they're fucking. I mean, what? I know everything. I know ins and outs. I know this shit like the back of my belly button.
Yeah.
All right, Victory, can you tell us about K7?
Well, K7 is a amateur esports league looking to kind of provide the CDL professional league experience for amateur players. set up like a seasonal format with up 16 teams going into our second season. We do 3 mini events throughout an entire season with a grand championship at the end, and the winner of each event will get some sort of a cash prize, but then the grand champion will receive the ultimate prize for the season and season champion status.
Well, damn. You know, that would sound a lot better if you replace the word players, amateur players, with amateur porn stars, and just say that whole sentence like over again, like with the Grand Slam phrasing. Championship at the end. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think any of our players will be on Chatterbait anytime soon, so hopefully not anyways.
Oh, damn. You old school.
Oh. So
nothing but the classics.
How long has K7 been around?
Started up in December, really came into effect in January, and we just finished up our first season actually this past weekend on Sunday.
Okay. So has this been something you guys have been working on for a while? I mean, what was the motivation for you guys?
Right. So just to kind of clarify, this structure for K7 actually did come out of KSIGlobal.com as kind of a way to encourage competitive events in the community. It was strictly done this way to kind of give it a platform with some players that we all kind of were familiar with and give them the chance to try out new things and then eventually get to the point of being independent, which they are now. So the concept started like a league. And as it grew, it got to the point where we're like, well, if we're going to do a league, we'd like to do, game coverage. We'd like to do like pre and post games as well. Stat coverage, offer the players something that they would see in a league and make it more like the CDL league that a lot of people are watching and kind of bring people in the door that way. It really kind of just was a think tank project between two people in particular, formerly KSI Hero 7 and KSI Falcons. They came up with the concept to kind of help the community, but eventually wanted to make it its own thing, and which they have done in this past few months. They're now a registered business. They're going to be doing expansion on what kind of things they do with their business and kind of things that the league will be operating in afterwards. And it's been a very fun ride. I kind of came in a little bit later to the project as after it had been started in more of a management role, helping people with their responsibilities and delegating the different department heads, like our department for operations for reffing. We have one for PR, have one for our social media, webmasters, et cetera. And I kind of make sure that everyone's on track and setting them up with goals day to day, week to week, month to month.
Okay.
Interesting.
So if you need, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ego Arena. If not, TerraCode or Mr XGN can describe it a little better. But how is it different than that, or how is it? What sets it apart from that, I guess?
Well, for us, we actually had the league kind of started before Ego came out, so we were more aware of Ego as it started to come up out of the gathering and the trial of Mr XGN and all that kind of came out of that. So we weren't really sure what it was until we started seeing some of the events come up between the different communities, between Hydra and XS, and we noticed that they were starting a league as well. We were kind of interested in how that would go. I think what sets us apart really is just our formatting, how we treat the actual in-season events, how we treat the teams themselves. Eventually, we'd like to see the teams get to a point where they're their own brands, just like in a sports league, where a sports league will have its main brand like the NFL, and then each team has its brands that all tied in together. We really want to set up like that league aspect. And while I don't want to speak on behalf of people who are in K7 about their thoughts on the matter, personally, I feel that the concept will be different enough in its execution. However, in my eyes, it's good to have other leagues to be a part of. It's good to have fellow competition between organizers, and it kind of creates a better and more healthy competitive experience for the player base.
Where did you come up with the phrase you wanted to kind of be like the NFL?
So we're doing our little think tank meetings about how to expand the league, and I've always looked at sports league as kind of the ultimate way to replicate esports. Like, we have many different sports leagues out there in the world, and they gain millions of viewers every year. And esports, when it's on its up and up, starting to bridge the gap between what's considered athletic and what's not. And we're starting to see really the start of esports going into that more sports direction. I felt it was kind of our way in the door, and that would kind of create a unique brand situation that maybe some other leagues haven't really done yet. Maybe kind of doing it in a way that gets the average gamer involved into the esports arena, and really just kind of emphasizing that we're here to just try something new and be different.
Well, I mean, to me, it's actually like insane because, like, I mean, TerraCode can probably vouch the same thing because I've said the exact same paragraph.
That's why I asked that question. That was our
before.
whole.
To my perspective, like with the Ego Arena, like essentially like that's more so we want any team, any organization, anyone that, you know, anyone in any community that wants to upstart and make a team and can go in and compete and go through that. That's more so like the open bracket. But once that season, you know, almost comes to an end, you know, we essentially plan to launch, you know, kind of like there's the Call of Duty Pro League and, you know, the Community Pro League in a sense that kind of does exactly what you just explained, essentially, where, you know, I wanted it laid out, you know, with, you know, teams, there's a logo, you know, for every team, et cetera, so forth and so on. And that's kind of like an invitational only. There's no way that, you know, like if I'm in team A, you know, I can't just go down the street, assemble a bunch of idiots down the block and be like, hey, I'm going to challenge the Patriots. You know what I mean? That's not going to happen. That might happen with the Cowboys, though, because I know they ain't got much shit going on. I'm joking. I'm just kidding. I ain't know nothing about sports, Terrorcode. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I don't know nothing about sports, Terrorcode. I'm just kidding. Don't shoot me, bro. I'm just joking.
This is a friendly podcast, asshole.
Oh, shit. I thought you left, bro. I thought that was you. I thought that was you, bro. I thought that was you. I thought you backed the fuck out, man.
Oh, Lord. I thought we were friends.
Dude, we are friends, bro.
I didn't come here prepared to fight.
Dude,
see how it is now.
It's going to turn into a war rally now. Shit. You want to leave here and directly go. Hey, I ain't going to say it. You know where you're going.
When I shout, make some noise, Landry, I want you to start yelling into your mic.
Oh, my God. But essentially, as I was saying, man, is, you know, that definitely is the long-term goal, you know, with it. But we also wanted to have, because as an organization that's, you know, competed in esports and has had teams go and so forth and so on, I think it's very important to have an open bracket type setting to where, you know, anyone, you know, upwards, you know, to a lot of teams essentially can sign up and participate with or without logos, with or out with, you know, without the branding, you know, with or without an organization even. And that's kind of the idea for, you know, Ego Arena quotations, but the Ego brand itself has several different ideas and so forth and so on to develop, you know, more of like a championship type league where the organizations have, you know, essentially the same setup that you're talking about. So I definitely get what you're saying fully, but that is crazy because I've been saying the same thing for years, essentially about the whole NFL thing. But so it's a very great comparison on that. I can say that. So.
Hey, great minds think alike, right? You know, eventually we all bring together some ideas, and eventually what's going to happen is a lot of us are going to come to the same conclusions. I think that just has to do with people have been in, whether it's just the gaming world for a long time, and being able to see what's out there and try to compare it to something that isn't there to fill that gap or that void that might be in the actual setting that you're trying to get into.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned a role in K7 and KSI.com. Do you have trouble distinguishing between the two roles?
Not really, because generally what ends up happening is a lot of the stuff related to what I do in K7 is more just league management and manager affiliations. I don't have to worry too much about being on the ground level. I have a great staff that I rely on to do that, and I'm just keeping them on track and helping them come to better conclusions when it comes to dealing with conflict or with troubleshooting issues and just giving them the encouragement and the support they need to do their job. With KSI being a community, it's a bit of a different show. I think anyone here who's run a community knows that it's kind of a different type of role. You're playing a lot more to how we can help the members improve their daily lives, their experiences, the atmosphere that they want to involve themselves in. Whereas with the league, it's a lot more of a competitive mindset. So a lot of people there are more for the dedication of being better players. And what I find with the communities, the people I'm dealing with are there to create a more healthy environment and a real community feeling for them that they might not receive in their real lives, or as an extension to great communities that they're already a part of. So for me, when it comes down to distinguishing the two, I keep kind of a rigorous schedule with, you know, putting certain time slots aside for the league, certain time slots for KSI. When it comes to staff who are involved in both, the nice thing is I make sure that I'm trying to kind of take a step back and not allowing what they do in one aspect affect the other and not try to judge them for that, but instead try to look at each one as its individual entity and do my best to separate them. I'm not perfect, obviously. Everyone's human. We make mistakes. I have the capacity for error just like anyone else might. But when it comes down to it, I just make the extra effort to ensure that I'm separating the two to help fulfill both roles as best as I can.
Yeah, that's a tough position.
It hasn't been easy, but it's getting a lot more doable as time goes on, and you learn. There's mistakes being made, communication needs to happen, and just knowing how to best utilize your time. And it's really been kind of the difficult part.
Long term, do you think that's something you're going to be able to continue to do as both?
I think so. As the league grows and as KSI grows, there are more leaders there to help support the overall brand, the overall kind of idea. Obviously, when things are in its infancy, it's a lot harder, but I'm sure you feel the same way about TSB or XGN, that in the beginning, it becomes a lot more difficult to take yourself away. But as it grows and as people come up and step up, provide something to your brand, provide something to your community, all of a sudden becomes easier to fulfill that role, and you have more reliance on other people, and you can kind of start to give out a little bit of that responsibility or that trust others and really see something come from it.
I'll be completely honest with you, man. I mean, my real root of, I guess, whenever I was hit up to kind of like sit down and talk with you guys or whatever, I didn't know you guys even came from KSI. I didn't know that it had any affiliation or association with KSI going into that meeting until I saw your profile picture. My big severe problem, I would say with mostly everything is just kind of like, from my perspective, I'm going to keep it a buck. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the last decade, KSI, like, particularly as a whole, like, no matter which one you claim, it's kind of done nothing but, like, embarrass, to me, our scene, our culture, our collective of brands and what we've been trying to accomplish. And, like, while I essentially strapped this motherfucker on my back and kind of did shit, like, and I mean, like, our Pacific cloth, because the way I've always seen it, the hobby's cutting too. You got the Hydra side of things, and you have, like the KSI, side of things, and et cetera. To me, I feel like as far as our representation of our side of the hobby, I feel like that I kind of carried a lot of the weight. And I feel like, wow, no offense, like after year after year after year, I just kind of watched KSI dick off and kind of like just betray each other and do all kinds of shit for literally a decade. I mean, literally a decade. So, to kind of see that brand hop up and then try to like act cool and kind of, play a role in the scene, it's almost like, hold up. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, I've been here. We've been putting in work. We've been doing this. And, like, you guys have been, like, stagnant, kind of just chilling, and no offense, because I don't know you. I don't know what your team. I don't know what you're doing. But historically, KSI hasn't exactly, sit right with me. You know what I'm saying?
No, I understand. Unless someone wants to jump in and say something else, I was just going to go on and kind of give you a nice rebuttal and see where I'm at. And see where I'm from.
I mean, I was never in KSI. Mr. XGN is a former high-ranking member over there. So you guys have your perspective of KSI, and I'm curious to hear your rebuttal to what he said, actually.
Right. So background on me, I was originally just a member. I first joined 2007, Sparta LE, worked my way up a little bit, but I never really got involved with the leadership for many years, and I kind of strayed from it. I first joined when I was a teenager, so every night was going out and partying and trying to hang out with my friends. And while I did learn things in KSI and I learned kind of the structure that I rely on today, a lot of that didn't come until I reflected upon it. So I was really out of the scene for a long time, and I came back 2017 to the PlayStation squad that they started up in the Lost Empire division in .com. And I worked my way up to the leadership there. Eventually, I got my own division. Then the KN split happened, and I've just been kind of doing my best to represent the brand more positively and be more of an individual, not try to rely on the past to dictate what happens in the future. I think we can all agree KSI has had a pretty piss poor reputation for various reasons over the years, whether it's poor leaders, members leaving a bad impression of the community and others' opinions, break off communities, a blacklist that didn't need to be there that we've gotten rid of finally. There's various factors. I'm not going to speak for them. I'm not going to apologize for them because it's not my place to. Instead, I would rather just try anew with a new branding, a new idea, kind of go in different directions maybe the hobby hasn't gone before, and really just take the onus on understanding that we have a poor reputation. And instead of trying to think of all the great things we've done, look at our mistakes and how we can learn from them and try to be what we can for the people who want to be involved, but also be more transparent about how we operate and having relations with other clans and making sure that we're doing our best to represent ourselves positively and take responsibility for the members and the leaders, especially, who might get out of line and create an issue, especially with our fellow gaming communities, especially with fellow leagues or anything to do with the brands in general, just because it has to be about cohesiveness and community. If we're a community gaming brand, then we should have a communal view and the want to have those community relations with others. It's just we can't sit in the hole. We can't pretend to be. We used to be great on Xbox 360, where the Halo 2 and 3 days were the glory days. We have to think new. We have to be better. And that's really my whole philosophy when it comes to leadership is you have to stand up there on the podium and take responsibility for the actions of others, but you have to also right them in the best way possible. And that's really just being better as a brand, as a community, as a leadership group, and really try to legitimize what we do in a positive way.
I mean, coming from Halo 3 personally, you know, the glory days that, you know, I can say that I've seen are, you know, peers and et cetera, you know, to be honest with you, donating money to KSI, donating, you know, time to KSI, and exceptionally being fucked over to the point of, like, do you know why Exile Syndicate exists, actually? I mean, it's kind of like I kind of grinded and I built and I, you know, did a lot of shit that I essentially used the blueprint of what not to do because, you know, I spent a lot of time. I made it to the board of directors in KSI before I was even like 15. So I joined KSI November 2008. I departed July 2010. A short amount of time that I made it from joining when I was 13, lied about my age. A short period of time that I made it through the entire system, split 2 divisions. My time there, made it to the board of directors, and you know what happened? Poor leadership. You know, from someone that I actually, it's actually a question that the interviewer was going to ask, but fuck it. You know, I noticed that, you know, Bill liked your Facebook post. I noticed that, you know, he did that and he was commenting under it. And, you know, we really want to know what role does he play and what's his capacity in all this and where does his opinion lie, I guess, really. Because, you know, as someone that's kind of been around and someone that spent a lot of time with that dude, I've seen a lot of people get ripped off. I've seen a lot of people get everything they built jerked up from under them and, you know, given to someone else. And somehow it always comes back to that. So I guess I want to know what his capacity is with all this.
Bill, or KSI 77, Nata 7, if you will, he has no capacity in our KSI whatsoever. He's not involved in our Discord, not involved in our website ops, not involved in clan ops, any aspect of the community. He is a community creator and founder, and he'll always have that. There's nothing I can say or anyone else can say that can take that away from him, and I wouldn't want to. Like, that's his legacy, and that's his business. But when it comes to the operations in KSI, he has no official or unofficial capacity. He's not even involved in anything. He's liked some Facebook content. You know, he's probably spoken out on some of our social media posts. People will remember him, will recognize him, but that's the only capacity in which we actually have a relationship with him.
So he hit up JT and said he wanted the domain or wanted him to put out a post and saying that you were no longer the leader of KSI and that JT's the leader. You know, he wouldn't be able to do that.
Sorry, we'll repeat the question for him one more time.
If he reached out to JT and said that he no longer wanted you in power, would he be able to make that call?
No, he would not.
So a post would not go out on the front of the forums saying that you're no longer in charge?
That is correct. Okay.
Well, coming from someone that actually witnessed that happen in the last 2 years, you know, with BT, Cali, and so forth and so on, I think you're mistaken, man. I think that you're running someone else's company, to be honest with you. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Whether it's now, whether it's later, at the end of the day, KSI is him and he is KSI.
Look, everyone has their opinions, right? And I'm not gonna speak for kind of the past actions. This is a new community. It's a new leadership. We have a new way of doing things. We're taking a lot of
the domain.
Right now, JT owns the domain.
Who owns the server?
Which one?
The KSI server.
Currently carried.
Okay. So ultimately, that's who it belongs to.
Yeah. I mean, from the way clans operate, that's my opinion. Now, granted, you guys are speaking about things that I've heard about as an outsider because I was never over there. But the very first guest that we had on here was KSI Dead Meat 7. Do you know who that is?
Yes, I do.
Victory?
Yes, I do.
All right. He's a good personal friend of mine.
I actually listened to his interview before getting in here.
Yeah. Yeah. He was very kind to nod us in that interview. I mean, the format that's been used over and over was the format not as laid out for people. I mean, that's why Dead Meat and the other founders were. Bill created a board of directors and removed them essentially from a clan they created. You know, the same format that was used to overthrow Ray's Drake, same format Fuzzy Meat used when he created .org and split off from .com, the same format that was used to overthrow BT. I mean, that's what we call the KSI maneuver. I mean, I don't, and my thing with what you're saying is I believe you believe what you're telling me, but how many people do you think have had this conversation with me or with Mr. XGN and have said the same things prior to you? You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I know I'm not the first person to have this conversation with you, and I won't be the last for whether it be another KSI or another community. Like, this is how the world works. And I'm not afraid to sit here and have this conversation because while I truly believe that what we're doing in KSI is different, it's something we have to prove. It's not something I can sit here and just say with absolute certainty that this is the way things are. I have to take risks. I have to learn to balance the load and understand that there are consequences. Like, I'm not perfect. You know, there could be a situation where I'm removed from KSI, and that will probably happen at some point in the future if I'm not an adequate leader, or if I decide to step down.
Who would remove you?
The board of directors would have to vote on it, just like any other board would.
Who's on the board of directors over there now? Just out of curiosity.
Our current board of directors is as follows. We have JT, we have Carrot, we have myself, KSI Ms. Airy, KSI Anubis 7, Nex Addo, KSI Cheddar, our director of web ops, KSI Ice Spot, our two divisional representatives from the member base, KSI Baby Tree 24 and KSI Kimber 7.
I want to ask you a question, and I don't want to cause conflict when I ask this, but how many of those people haven't been active in KSI for years and came back just to take that position recently?
Like, phrase the question one more time, just so I know I'm answering it correctly.
Okay. How many board members, active board members right now that you recognize as board members, have been inactive or out of KSI for years and just recently came back and accepted a board level position?
Very few. When it came to bringing people onto the board, we didn't just want to bring inactive people back on the board. When we first started after the KN split, there was a couple that we invited back when the community was literally only 200 people. There wasn't very much left after that happened. So we invited Crusader back to be our Chief Justice. The only member I would consider to be kind of inactive over the years who's come back is Miss Airy, but before we put her in a board position, she was active for a period of time in different capacities before we asked and voted on her as being part of our board. Everyone else has been in the community now for a long period of time, has been involved in various aspects, whether it's web or clan, and a lot of them are new leaders. It's a new generation of people.
In your personal opinion, do you think that causes conflict in your community when you bring someone back? Like the scenario we just described, you literally have people that have worked their ass off for KSI.com and are sitting at whatever rank now, and you brought someone in who I know has been out of the clan for 2 or 3 years, and they're on the board of directors. Do you think that causes any hard feelings or issues?
It can cause hard feelings if you don't allow that person to really get into a role. So it's like anything. If a company goes out and hires an outside manager for their business, when they had candidates within, it will cause a little bit of upset feelings or perhaps cause some conflict. But when a person comes in a position and does great work and builds relations with their team and really puts out a positive image, I feel like those hard feelings are a little bit more calm. They're not really as hard feelings. They wanted to make sure that someone in position that they're being given or offered or given an opportunity to be in is deserving of it and is willing to put in the work. And I firmly believe that everyone on our board has put in the work, regardless of.
Kind of bring it back to where I was at. I really just want to an answer for one question. This is historical, and just keep in mind, just the honest opinion, truth here, because if it was to happen, I'll just okay. So if you feel, you said the only way that you could pretty much get removed is if the board voted you out. So you're telling me that if JT and Bill was to agree to, remove that entire board and press the reset button, you really feel that is completely, totally, and utterly impossible based off historical facts that it's clearly happened several times previously?
Yes, I do feel that would completely be the case.
You feel like it's impossible?
I feel it's impossible.
Okay. So what's changed? What legally has changed?
legally.
Because I mean, like realistically, I mean, if it's happened before, right? So it's clearly like what makes it impossible if it's happened before? What has changed that no longer makes that possible?
What has changed is the perspective of the people who own our community. Like, we don't have owners in any capacity officially in our community. Our owners have been given the role of creator. They are just as an equal amount of it as we are. When it comes to a legality issue, when you're talking about owning a server or owning a forum page.
Are you aware that BT was also a creator?
Yes, I am aware.
So I'm just trying to run this through my head. What, like, that happened to him, right? And he told me the same thing you're telling me now. The word impossible is a very strong word. What makes it impossible? Like if it's happened before, right? What has changed? Like, perspective, like that could, like, clearly perspectives change every fucking day. So therefore, like, I'm just trying to, like, I don't see how, like, you could certainly say it's unlikely, but how is it impossible?
See, my biggest thing when it comes to this kind of line of questioning,
you're essentially in a rental. You're in a rental. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be rude, but you're in a rental community. You didn't create it. You don't establish that. You have creators, quotations, but you've had creators before. Game was a creator. BT was a creator. You know, Black Ghost was a creator. There's been tons of people that had the same title you have, and I'm just trying to figure out that what in the world would make you believe that is impossible? Like, unlikely, yes, I could see it, but I just can't see how it would be impossible if you're in someone else's clan, running it for them and doing the duty for them, essentially, that if they both, the person that owns your tools, your utensils, your website, essentially, and own that, and the actual creator said, hey, I want a new board. They couldn't just dump you out in the yard and just go get a new one, and they have all the same shit to do it again. Because coming from someone that, you might say that's extreme, they would never do that. You're talking about someone that has seen literally, not one, not two, but literally split after split after split up from KSI, including myself, including KN, and including actually cutting the clan in half and forming multiples. Like, I'm just trying to see, based off historical facts, how you could literally say that was impossible for you to be replaced by literally the two people, Bill and JT. Because I feel like if those two people decided you're getting the fuck out, you're getting the fuck out. So I'm just trying to figure out how that's not the case.
Okay. Very spirited about this. I appreciate the passion, though. It's good to see. My biggest concern when answering questions like this here is I feel like there might be an agenda. Well, while that's irrelevant to the conversation of what you're asking me, at the end of the day, I do put trust in the leaders of KSI, myself and others on our board, our members within Clan Ops and Web Ops, and however other different leadership groups that we have. I put pride and perspective behind that. And at the end of the day, we're trying to actually build something that's legitimate as an organization. We're trying to go down the routes of forming an LLC or an NPO. It's something that's in flux and debate. I do not feel that it is impossible per se. I would say there's a 1% chance of it. Just to clarify, I'm not going to say anything is not possible. I'm not going to give you some ultimatums or some.
Yeah,
exactly.
Of course, man. And
right.
I respect that answer a lot more. I respect, like, because there definitely is a possibility, but I respect that you could feel that it's highly, 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 highly unlikely. Mm-hmm. But I just felt that saying it was impossible was a bit extreme.
Perhaps.
Based off TerrorCode. I mean, you can agree, right? You've seen it happen several times.
For sure, and I do feel it's an extreme line of questioning to go down this as well. And I do appreciate it, though. Like, I'd rather be honest and transparent with y'all in this kind of a conversation or setting than worrying about like the politics of it, or I'm dealing with TSB or Hydra or XGN. Like, we're just people chatting, and at the end of the day, this is here for someone else's entertainment, and I'm happy to provide. But when it comes down to it, we want to do something more than just be a community of gamers like every other community has been for the last decade up until recently, where it's now been kind of the two big, Hydra and XGN on console. We'd love to go into platforms like PC. I'd like to get back into charity gaming. I'd love to be able to go to a state board and get ourselves something like an NPO or an LLC and start actually doing something that's legitimate and worthwhile for our members. But most importantly, define ownership, define the constraints of the community, and define what it means to be a part of it. And that's the big change we want to go through, is get to that point, which KSI's
Can
never
I
got
be honest
before.
about something, man? And I get what you're saying. Can I be honest with something? Why I asked this and why I really just want to establish this is because my big concern is, okay, when I'm talking with TerrorCode, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when TerrorCode's talking to me, or whenever I'm talking to Helios or someone like that, I'm talking to the person that owns the key to their house. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Essentially, I showed up, to talk about, real life shit, real stuff. If I showed up to your house and I was like, hey, I want to talk about your property, I'm just afraid that you would have to go get your landlord. You know what I mean?
Right, and that's totally respectable. But to the same accord, if that was the case, why would you want to talk to me instead of, say, someone like JT or Caird, who you feel in your mind are owners?
Well, I mean, I was under the impression you were the executive director
I
and
am
was in charge.
absolutely in charge. But again, you have a perspective of what I do and where I'm coming from that, differs from my point of view. So I'm just trying to make sure that we're on the same page. No disrespect, of course, nothing at all like that. I just want to make sure we're all coming from the same place so I can answer your questions as best as I can.
Yeah, I've just been personally really close and really good friends with people that kind of held the same position you have. So I kind of have an inner perspective and kind of know exactly how it feels to work for someone like Bill and JT. Mm-hmm. So that's why I really, coming from someone that personally, worked under that iron thumb, I really just wanted to, kind of get where, your mindset is and how much power you have. Because if we build a relationship and we were to, get down to the nitty gritty and really have a conversation and had to handle something, I don't want to build a positive relationship or a positive thing, and then 3 years from now, next thing you know, you're evicted and I have to deal with a whole new tenant. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's totally understandable.
Like, I live across the street. I own my property. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, TerrorCode lives, down the block. He owns his house. You're just a tenant. What I'm saying is I want to make sure that if I was to sit down and talk to you and have discussion with you, that the whole perspective, if we were to come to an understanding, that understanding could change with the next tenant.
Right, and that's totally fair. But this is also the same kind of relationship you're ever going to have with, say, an NPO with a board of directors. There's no owner. There's no one who actually owns the entity. You have a board of directors that you deal with. And that's very much the same setup we've got going on right now. So where you have this kind of tenant ownership property, right now we're in flux. So when we have the idea that we're going to have an NPO or an LLC, that will change and define different owners. When we're talking about NPO, technically there are no owners. You are responsible to your government subsidiaries, the taxpayers, and the revenue agency. So when it comes to actual ownership, it's just really who's in charge and the gatekeeper of what you're doing versus, say, someone who is the owner and has executive authority to make decisions because they want to. That's why I've always been a fan of the NPO model. That's why I've always been a fan of that.
My perspective is completely different from you guys because I've only heard one name that actually owns KSI mentioned from you guys. I mean, the 7 original creators of KSI own KSI, in my opinion.
Right.
What's going to happen can Dead Meat not come back? I mean, he created the KSI, right? And I know this is a whole argument off to the side, but I'm sitting here listening to you guys talk, and I'm like, well, that just shows the different perspectives of KSI, throughout the gaming community, because I don't even think we can all agree on who actually owns KSI.
But see, isn't it important to have these kinds of conversations then so we all get on the same page? Because there's a lot of assumptions that happen, I think, between all of us. And I think for the better picture of all of our members or all of the people in this gaming environment, we're all on the same page about what's going on.
Do you think there'll ever be a united KSI? Like all the KSIs come back together?
I would love to see it. If there's a chance of that happening, it's probably a long way off. I would love to have more relations with .org as a .com leader, but that's just because, we're one brand that's very similar, and we were together at one point, and I see no reason that there couldn't be friendly relations. Sometimes they take some heat for things, but I don't think that's entirely their own fault, and I think sometimes they get a bad rap just because of the name. And I think that's the same thing with .com. It's hard to really judge someone based on a name, based on people that came before.
What do you see as the major differences between KSI.com and KSI.org from your perspective as a leader of .com?
The major difference to me is I feel, and this is just my opinion, this isn't based on any fact. I just feel .org is more of an older model. They're kind of going back down to the roots and doubling down on it, and I feel .com is taking a different direction. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be better or worse, but just it provides a difference that you can see between the two. And I just hope that I just wish them the best, really. I don't have anything bad to say about them. No qualms with anyone individual there. I was a member for a hot minute for a while.
I can actually, if I think about the two KSIs, I agree that I think that .com is the more progressive of the two.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's my opinion, obviously.
I do have a question. So what, like, kind of going off of what you and Mr. XGN were talking about, how he kept saying that at any time anybody or Billy or him could step in and kind of take over. I know that you've put in a lot of work, and you're aware of the negative past of KSI. What have you done for yourself to protect your hard work, and what you've done to keep that from happening? I guess for listeners who kind of are in a similar boat in a situation like that, like what did you do to protect yourself in that situation to make sure that that doesn't happen to you?
I think the biggest thing when it comes to these types of scenarios where you talk about old leadership in KSI, it comes with, how do I put this? It's a mixed bag, because there's so many good and bad people that have come from the community over the years. And I would say the majority, like 95% of them, were great people, or at the very least honest people, and just nice friends, gamers to hang out with, people you could learn things from. But there's always a few that kind of ruin the experience for everyone. I think we can all agree it's usually the minority that makes the reputation a lot more brand than it is. If you look at social media today.
I totally agree.
Exactly. But if you look at social media. Okay, go ahead.
I totally agree, man. But I'm going to say one thing. I feel like that minority is fucking still there, dude. I feel like it's Bill.
You're entitled to your opinion. I've actually never had a conversation with Bill since coming back to KSI. I think the only time I've ever had a conversation with Bill is in an Xbox party years ago, and I accidentally hopped into the wrong party. I've never had a conversation with Bill. I don't have any relations with Bill. I just do my own thing, and I just do what I can in my position as best as I possibly can.
I respect that, man. I do. All right, Landry, what's next? What else we got?
Okay, so let me see. So whenever it comes down to a K7 and KSI, there's obviously a lot of confusion there between people confusing the two together. What exactly makes them different and standalone on themselves? Just so you can kind of clear the air for the listeners.
Of course. So K7, as I mentioned earlier, is an amateur esports league. There is no community aspect to being in the league, other than the fact that we have a couple of communities happen to put in teams for our league. A lot of our players are actually independent teams that are trying to make a brand for themselves. All of them have their own logos. We advertise their logos and all of their kind of affiliate stuff, and help them build logos if they don't have one for their own team. We're not really looking necessarily to just bring in just community teams. We're actually looking for a lot of freelance teams, because we feel a lot of the esports players start out with a small group and then they build up a brand around them, versus, say, a community putting out a group of good players with the brand already behind them. I just think it's more prevalent in that field to see more freelance. So we're really trying to focus on getting teams that want to be here, that are willing to follow the rules, willing to agree to the bylaws, understand that this is all about respect and having fun. Whereas we look at KSI as an open community to everyone. There isn't a huge competitive aspect in it like there was in the past with, say, our Headhunters program. But being a gaming community versus a league that is owned and operated independently, I feel is a pretty severe difference. And outside of having to explain what the league is and what a gaming community is, I feel like they speak for themselves. I made a statement through the KSI Facebook just to clarify, just because it did start within KSI as a concept. They used some of our members as players, some of our former members and members still in KSI filled out the staff, and they felt confident in their brand and went and did their own thing. And we were more than happy to make sure that happened and allow them to really realize their dreams and follow their passions.
So are all of the K7 members KSI members, or is it open and there's
It's very much open. I would say that of the teams, I think maybe 30% or less are people who have been in KSI or are in KSI, especially going into season 2. A lot of season 2 is filled with teams that tend to scrim through leagues on Twitter, through different Discord servers, and that makes up the majority of our player population.
What about the staff? Is most of the staff KSI people?
I would say it's a good mix of non-KSI people and KSI people. A lot of the people who are in positions within K7 who are in KSI aren't necessarily senior leadership or higher leadership. a lot of them spend their focus on K7 and are just mostly members. There are obviously notable exceptions, but for the most part, we just make sure that, hey, we were there to help out in the beginning. We're more than happy to continue helping, but we recognize the fact that they're going to be independent going forward.
Well, I'll say this. Coming from someone that, put time into KSI and, actual effort and et cetera as well, I guess my real big feelings is, I had always kind of been supportive, TerrorCode, probably vouch for that, of KSI. I've had, people's backs. I was super close with BT. I was super close with Game, and Callie still are to this day. And it was really disappointing, to see what happened to him happen to him. You know what I mean? And I was super supportive of him, and I almost felt that Exile Syndicate kind of had to happen because things like what happened in KSI continued to happen, in KSI. And I felt like there was a huge lack of communities. I look around at my peers, you have XGC that's hiding off somewhere. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, in hiding, in a tunnel, in a hole. Who knows? Where are they? Where are they? I don't know where they are. I've never seen them. Don't know.
Victory, do you know anybody in XGC?
Not really, man. No, I've heard their name before, but like they're just, they're a mystery, an enigma out in the wind.
They're out there somewhere. Who are they? Who are they?
Yeah.
We will get one on here one day. We're going to start pulling in privates and just start interviewing them. If we can find them.
I'll put it on my bucket list.
Someone told me, a comment on one of my tweets the other day, they were like, XGC members hold no tag, hold nothing in their uniform, and just are gamer. I'm like, dude, what the hell? That's not a member then. They're just not out. They're just out there somewhere. I don't know. But anyways, just seeing what occurred and et cetera, just kind of really upset me personally. And then coming from someone that I felt accomplished more than the average person for sure, while in KSI, especially, for the short period of time that I was there, even, making it to that level, at that age, and just to kind of, the only reason to not even be there is essentially, to fill you in, is KSI 77 inviting people that were former, and BT, you can get pissed. He does every time I say this. They brought people like BT back, people, and he's going to say, I didn't leave. I was just AFK for a year. Doesn't matter. BT, Killaburn, all them, and they kind of placed them above us in board spots and ahead of us, and so forth and so on. And that kind of reminds me of TerrorCode's question he had for you about, bringing people back and putting them in there. And from there, there's a power struggle, and next thing you know, KSI United was formed. It left a huge void for me that kind of, as a small child, SMOL, because I smell small that way. I spell small that way. So it's way more cuter. It was very disrupting. It was very motivationally killing. I invested hella time into KSI. I had no plans. Put hella money into KSI. Bought merch that I never fucking received. Sorry. It's really.
I mean, historically speaking, that's always how the next big KSI breakoff happens.
And shit fell apart, man. And then I felt like I had to form a community, and from there I formed XGN and so forth and so on. And to my experience, did things, essentially the exact opposite of what I witnessed in those leadership parties all those years. But long story short is, I was never appreciated. My loyalty, I never said a bad thing about KSI for years. I never spoke out, despite my opinion of several different things. I never really said anything, and yet never really got appreciated, never got my Hall of Fame spot, never got anything. Essentially, after all the accomplishments and all the shit that I felt personally that I did, not only for KSI, but ongoing, like even after, for the scene, and even in interviews, even at events, talking to interviewers, mentioning the clans that we originated from and where we were at, and kind of always trying to shine a positive light on our scene as a whole, to never really see appreciation. And then Callie kind of received a message, I forgot from who, Jasmine or whoever, saying, oh, he'll get, or first he was removed from the Hall of Fame. I was never in it, never got added. and then that I would be added now after it would take me going on Twitter and just essentially speaking my opinion to get added to the Hall of Fame. And then something that really pissed me off that was said was that they're even thinking about re-adding BT. Like, why the fuck would BT even be removed? Why would that even be an option? Why would he not be in the Hall of Fame? After everything that someone like BT had done, that just fumes me as someone that really fucking admires people like BT and, you know, knows the work that he did for KSI for years and years and years and was there before a lot of fucking people. I don't understand how the hell he even got removed and why the hell it's even being considered. So that's my perspective of where the anger comes from. I feel like a lot of people, you know, got added to the Hall of Fame for being added for donating and doing things and etc. And I've personally 100% seen the misuse of money in KSI. 100%. And it's just shocking, you know, that I just feel that this is all good criticism and things that you're being critiqued on because you don't want to have that repeat.
Of course not.
You don't want that to happen. But when I tell you that I could bring the leader of TXI in here, who was the chief of finances for KSI, you know, Leo Rex, and he tell you the kind of things that went on with the money, the foundation, and you talk about wanting to get back involved in charity events. I want KSI to stay far away from charity events as humanly possible, to be honest with you. But until you guys have an LLC, until there's like actual federal legal things tying you to this money, I think KSI needs to stay as far away from charities as humanly possible, because there really has been charities where money just went fucking missing. And it's scary, dude. And I'm not trying to be a dick to you because you're not the one that did it. But when I tell you that I've witnessed some terrible things come from the letters that you represent, I'm not lying to you.
I don't think anybody would deny that there's been a lot of misuse in money in the KSI history. And, you know, that's unfortunately in the clan world, you know, you kind of get held accountable for the mistakes of your predecessors. And that's unfortunate. And I've never heard anything bad about you, Victory. So I'm, you know, I hope that you are one of the good ones. I've had the conversation with a million people in KSI that they're going to change it from the inside. I mean, I've literally had that conversation a million times. And, you know, in my gut, I'm always like, this is another, you know, poor lost soul that thinks he can fix this system. But, you know, and then the other side of it, I'm always like, maybe he will be the one, but not yet. Not yet.
Well, you never find out until you try.
Go ahead. Yeah, let Victory talk. Go ahead, Victory.
Then, yeah, first and foremost, man, like I respect a lot of the things that other communities are doing. Like personally, as XGN, I really respect what XGN represents, what it's become. I have a lot of like respect for the effort that goes into it. A project that large and with that wide scale, like, so kudos to you, man. You got my respect, and same to you, TerrorCode. In the past, you know, I've been a member of KSI long enough to know that sometimes there's some poor relations between communities, but you know, I've got nothing but respect for clans that go out there and put themselves out there. While I don't have to agree with everything you guys do, I can respect the fact that you're doing it and have no ill will. So just first and foremost from me.
Yeah. I mean, I legit had no issue with you guys when you formed. My issue came later on when there was a guy that, you know, was in another community and he personally attacked a female member of TSB, became very aggressive, said some really nasty things, and, you know, later on, he went and joined KSI.com, and I hit up Elder Poot, and I said, yo, this is this guy. I showed him what he had said, and Elder Poot's like, oh, we don't need that here. I'm going to remove him. And then 6 months later, I get screenshots from this kid rubbing it in my face that Elder Poot told him to change his Discord, change it, you know, get on a new gamer tag and not ever tell anybody who he was. And I'm like, wow.
It sounds pretty awful. I'm not going to speak into conjecture because I don't know the validity of that, right? I don't want to speak for a situation that I don't know about.
I want to move to something more positive, but I want to say this, you know, finally, like we'll move to the next question anyways, but the last thing I want to say is, like, realistically, you know, I've said all these things that I've personally witnessed and all these things that I know for sure that took place. And anyone, like, you can walk up to anyone, like, that's been in the scene for a long period of time that can vouch for these things and et cetera, that has studied the history and so forth and so on. And I get that maybe he's not involved, quotations, and I get that, and I trust, for now, I trust that you're right. I trust your opinion. But in what other industry and what other company would there not be some kind of public distancing or, you know, anything like what, like the Papa John situation or et cetera? If someone has done all these horrible, terrible things, you know, why is he still able to, you know, kind of be around and collect clout off of your organization? And, you know, even you said, you know, he's a creator and that's not going to change. But if I stated all these things that's occurred, I just don't understand why there's not some kind of public distancing from this. You know, there's been whole communities split from KSI and .org that has stemmed solely from this person. So I'm just trying to understand, if this was any other industry, you know, why is there not some kind of public, you know, post and distancing and kind of like, you know, shutting that down, you know, not really like just making it clear that you're not associated, you know, with this person if they're not the owner.
Right. So I see where you're coming from there. The biggest thing for me is I don't want to have to put out a statement unless it's necessary. A big thing with me, when you look at PR, any kind of public relations, while there's the opportunity to get ahead of something, you're creating a new narrative. If you go out and say something like that out of context, without reason, without situation, I'm now providing a narrative and a platform for said person to speak. So while it would be great to sit there and be like, hey, I'd like to get ahead of these issues before it happens, I would rather allow that name to go into obscurity and to simply be forgotten instead of giving it the attention it doesn't need. I don't know Bill very well. I've never really had associations with him. I'm not going to judge one's character without knowing them. I think that's unfair to anyone. But from someone who's running a brand, why would I go outside of my way to bring attention to something that isn't there? It's one thing if he tries to, or someone tries to bring relevance to that issue. Like if he was to come out and make a statement, or if he was to come out and make a move per se, that's when the social distancing has to come in, because you have to respond to situations in an appropriate manner to maintain a sense of professionalism, a sense of parity, and to ensure that when you're making statements, they're for the right reasons and not just because you want to disassociate yourself with the past. Like the past is the past. We have to accept that that's the case. And when you look at something like Papa John's, where it was really relevant and recent in their history and they started to distance themselves from it, or when Steve Jobs was fired originally from Apple and they began to distance immediately, it was a relevant in the moment decision. And it would be unfair to then just bring it up and use that as kind of a comparison if there is no comparable current recent action to doing so.
I just thought his endorsement was damaging, is what I'm saying.
His endorsement, I suppose, again, people are free to post on social media. If it becomes an issue, he gets blocked, just like any other person on our social media who accesses our platforms. But I'm not going to try to censor people's ability to speak unless it becomes an issue or a concern of safety for my members or for fellow people in gaming communities.
So you guys are getting back to K7. You want to maintain a professional standard in the way that your people conduct themselves and things like that.
Yes, of course.
So I know from my Twitter feed this week that there have been some things pop off where people didn't conduct themselves in a very professional manner.
All of that has been talked about and dealt with within League. But of course, we recognize the fact that sometimes when these events occur, we have to take responsibility. I take responsibility for certain individuals going and overstepping their bounds or misrepresenting themselves. I believe people are capable of making mistakes and should be given the chance to prove otherwise. While we feel that our league, our business, I also understand there's a PR aspect. There is a community relations aspect that we have to maintain and have to do our due diligence in providing consequences to actions. While I might not necessarily agree with the incidents that happened, how they were brought up, what could be seen as disrespectful or slanderous towards our direction, I understand that people have their opinions and I'll never hold that against them. It's why I'm able to have conversations with you guys and feel totally fine just being transparent and being as honest and respectful as possible, regardless of what has been said over the years, regardless of intent, people's personal opinions. But at the end of the day, consequences to one's actions and ensuring that we're handling our business in a manner that makes sense for our league's reputation.
Right. I mean, to me, one of the most damning things that I saw was I think it was the KLX guy that brought up Cali and talked about him being overthrown in KSI, and that he was a full-time staff member of K7. And I'm like, that is bringing KSI business into K7. You know, I mean, which I think is something you have stepped out of your way to try to distance the two from each other. But then you have people who post on social media bringing the two together. You know what I mean? When I read
It's
that
an
statement.
unfortunate statement. Sure. It's an unfortunate statement. And again, like when you look at people making mistakes in the moment, like I'm not going to blame them for making mistakes. I'm going to hold them accountable for it. It doesn't matter who it is, but I have to give them the chance to grow and learn. And if that's something that continues, that's when you have the discussion of looking at further, more severe consequences. We can't go out of our way to entirely censor someone, but you do make a valid point. And it's something that we have to constantly battle all the time, regardless of our personal opinion of our organizations. There will always be others that will have an influence on how others see us. As such, we should be aware of them and do our due diligence in order to ensure that the integrity of the league remains intact.
Yeah. I mean, I 100% agree with what you're saying. You know, I mean, look, I've never deleted anything really that I've posted on Twitter. Even the negative shit I've said about Mr. XGN, it's up there. If someone wants to ask me about it, I will tell you I was wrong.
Oh, man.
I was wrong. I was wrong about some of the things that I posted. I was misled about some things that I posted. But I will never delete it because I don't want anybody to
like a Calvin Klein model.
I don't want anybody to come back later and say, "Oh, Terrorcode, look at him. He's trying to say he never." No, I said that shit. I was wrong on some of the things I said, and I may have a different opinion now, but I definitely said that shit. That's why I leave it the hell up there. And it just, once you put shit out there, you kind of have to write it out. And to me, I respect someone more who says, yeah, I said that. I have a different opinion now, and I have more information that has made me say that was not a true statement. At the time I thought it was, but I have all the facts now, because I'm real guilty about reacting in the moment. I don't necessarily think a lot before I react, and my Twitter feed reflects that a lot. But it just, I don't know that, because Cali's a good guy. You guys that were in KSI, you all have different opinions about things, but when I see someone represent an organ or a business like K7 bragging about someone getting stabbed in the back in a Klan, I'm like, okay, that's not professional. That's not the way you represent yourself.
Dude, that same shit, man. Like, that same shit. The whole fact that Callie and them could be stabbed in the back is fucking ridiculous. And that's
what you guys were talking about earlier.
I still will never be. We were just always going to have a different opinion on that. Always will, because it's just fucking mind blowing. Like, how clear it's happened so much. Like, it's just happened so many times, dude. And like, I don't think that something, in my opinion, that could happen to anyone, including the current board, should be bragged about. Like, that's not a cool thing. What happened to Cali and what happened to BT, that's definitely not a cool fucking thing, because essentially they just, they paid their car payment every month but still got repoed. You know what I'm saying?
It's an interesting way of putting it, for sure. I'll get into the humor there.
Hey, buddy, that's why I hop in this 97 S10 rusted out in the bottom, but I don't give a fuck.
If I could be a Flintstones car before long, just fucking paddling along trying to get to that stoplight.
That's it right there.
Bro, does anyone ever tell you sound like Fuzzy?
Someone has mentioned that before. I can't remember who it was.
Is that you, Fuzzy?
No, it's not Fuzzy.
Okay. All right.
All right, Dylan.
The name's Brandon, man. I ain't no Dylan. But no, you're right though. Like, if you're getting back to the topic, like the KN situation is unfortunate. Like I don't want to. I wasn't really involved. I don't want to speak for other people's opinions, but the whole incident's unfortunate. It doesn't need to be dragged through the mud. It doesn't need to be continuously brought up. The fact is for most of us, we've tried to make amends in our past dues as best as we can with each other. Some people might never really get past it, but they will constantly ensure that there's a certain amount of separation or respect given, and not try to slander each other in public. people take things personally, and like I get it. Like me growing up, I was someone who always held personal grudges. You know, maybe I didn't have the best upbringing because everyone gets bullied when they're a kid, or they go through moments where they feel like they were wronged or victimized. And my personal lesson in life was to just simply let it go. Like you can't grow without willing to let the things that have put you back.
Yeah, fuck
Yeah,
that.
man. Grudges are fucking the worst, man. I would rather sit here and be mad in the moment and just move on.
No, I'm a petty
Me and
motherfucker.
TerROCODE had a decade-long fucking grudge match. Dude, low-key, I flew under the radar for the most. Every bit of this shit is damn Mr. Gandhi's fault when he made that 16-part exposure series. Every bit of it. I was flying good under the radar. Nobody heard about me. This moment, it's all damn Kryptonite's fault. Ever since she went over there, that crazy psycho, she went over there to y'all TerROCODE. And fucking, I swear to God, I saw her in the fucking war rallies or where the hell y'all had, and she was going, I want Mr. XGN to bleed. And I was like, it's over. I'm dead. This is it. And keep in mind, I'm 15. I'm like, dude, she's going to kill me. And I didn't know what was going on, bro.
She probably will.
Bro, she might. Dude, Kryptonite, I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me, Miss Lady, if you're watching this. I don't want no problems, y'all. God bless you.
Girl, I'm just playing.
I'm just playing. Okay, but serious about my Hall of Fame spot. What's up?
Hey, look, we've taken the Hall of Fame. We've created a committee for it of new and older members to debate the validity of additions to the Hall of Fame. I don't want any like executive leaders making.
Oh, they're definitely not going to fucking let me in now.
What about? I have a serious question. What about Ray's Drake? Ray's Drake Hall of Fame KSI.
Bro, you're going to let them vote on me now? It's over.
What do you think it'd be a unanimous no?
I have
100%. They're not.
I think you can get one or two votes
question.
if you feel that negative about it. At least one or two. Come on, give yourself some credit.
Hey, Victor, I have a serious
if I'm not in the Hall of
question.
Fame, I'm tweeting again.
I want you to hear me out on this and don't shut me down like Mr. XGN did. But what about TSB TERRORCODE and KSI Hall of Fame? I have influenced a lot of policies and helped a lot of situations in KSI for a decade. Where's my
At that point, you will get in before me.
Oof.
There's no way they're letting me in now. It's over.
Hey,
I want to hit up.
What's the spread on this? I think we can make some bets. Who's going to get in first, TerROCODE or Mr. XGN? Get some bets.
Who's been more influential in the history of KSI in the last decade and a half? Name the top 5 people. I have to be in there.
Hey, look, this is what I'm going to say. You better let them motherfuckers know that if I don't get in, there's going to be a tweet longer by Tuesday.
Oof.
Wait, tomorrow's Tuesday.
Wow, whole 48 hours. Guys, that's some ultimatum shit right there. Oof. Boys, I'm getting sweaty over here.
You will have never seen crying like I will perform on Twitter. I will bitch and moan and fucking, hey.
As somebody that's been on the other side of it, he's not bullshitting.
Hey, TerROCODE. I will make a fucking 10-part video series calling y'all cyber terrorists. I'm joking. Anyways.
Shit be wild.
Can we talk about something? I went on Twitter a few weeks ago, and I saw that, I don't know, you say you don't talk to Bill. Do you follow him? I saw him on there calling Elder Poo a worldwide credit card thief. Do you know anything about this?
Oh, shit. So, yeah, okay. There was So what it ended up happening is we had a member who we found out recently faked his own death. So when we were contacted by his, at the time, fiance, whether or not they are actually together, I have no idea. Yeah. So what ended up happening is she contacted us, told us that he had like taken his own life. And like a lot of us were fucking super bummed out of that. People were upset. Like I was in parties, people crying because they were really good, close friends with him. And like I was pretty upset too because I worked with him in our education department and the divisional staff when we were in clan ops together. Like I felt really bad, and I felt like, wow, I can't believe this happened. What ended up happening is we set up a GoFundMe, and when we offered it to his fiance, she refused, and so we just sent all the money back, and that's what that's all about. We sent all that money back. There was no GoFundMe that went to anyone. And then it turns out a year later, we find out that he lied to us. So, joke's on us. But at the very least, we can say that the money went back to who donated, and we made sure that everyone got what it was entitled back to them.
Yeah, you should took the money and bought everyone fucking
you know what? Like, That would have been a great idea, but I would rather just be transparent and give everyone back their money and pretend like it never happened at this point.
I was testing you.
We're
I
just
was
gonna go
testing you.
back and forget.
I was just checking.
I appreciate you. Got to keep me on my. You got to keep me on my game.
A good.
You got to keep me on my game.
Hey, look, I gotta make sure, man. I'm gonna be doing it. I'm gonna be here checking.
I'm not gonna lie, 100%, hand on the Bible truth. I knew that kid was alive, and he approached me, but I was so petty and mad at Elder Poot, I never told anyone.
I wish you would have.
Wow. And the truth comes out.
It's okay. It's water under the bridge. But depending on what kind of topics you're talking about here, might not want to get too close to the home.
I do have one last question for you.
Go ahead, Andrew.
So I feel like just overall in this podcast, you've kind of had to speak for a lot of people's mistakes that weren't your own. And I know that can be exhausting for you. And it seems like you're still passionate and you still love what you do. So my question is, what is your why? Like, what keeps you going and motivated for KSI and K7?
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of work. So I suppose like when you start doing a lot, it's hard for people to see the motivation. For me, originally, it was just the idea that what I do in these different organizations, how I operate, how I hold myself is how I can be a reflection of this in my real life. I'm a business owner. I'm starting up a small gaming business for retail, a lot of trading card games, vintage video games. So for me, it's about keeping in touch with not only my business audience, but the people that I've become friends with and the relationships I've built over many years, which are timeless. I would never trade them for anything. And the more I do this, the more people I get in contact with, the more people I get to really get to know and meet. And it's just for me a great opportunity to socialize, to feel alive, to really want to keep pushing myself to be more. And I think a lot of us in the community, clan community background can agree that it comes down to it motivates you to be better, but you remember where you come from. You remember the people that you were in parties with when you first joined. You remember the leaders that first taught you concepts. You remember, splitting your first squad, your first division, working your way up the ranks. And for me, it's always just been, at the end of the day, it's a way to help me reflect upon how I hold myself in real life and help build a better person for me going forward.
Hey, you're starting a business, gaming related? Ironically, we're looking for people to sponsor the Ego Double Wide.
I'll let you know. Right now, I operate on a small loss just to ensure that I'm building up my business and the brand. And a lot of it's being done kind of with COVID being what it is now. It's a little bit hard to operate, but maybe we can talk in the future. I'm more than happy to chat and see what kind of relationships we can build for the betterment of everyone.
Okay. I've been asking everyone this. Have you heard the description of the double wide 2-story house?
No, I have not. I'd love to hear it though.
Okay. It's a double wide trailer house with a second story added on that you access through a pallet that's on a forklift. You get raised up, and that's where the people sleep upstairs. We have water beds in every room. It's a pretty classy joint. It's got a wraparound deck, several grills, things like that. But I asked everyone, if they came to stay with us for a week, what 4 things would they bring with them? And I want to add something to that. You have to bring 4 people from KSI with you when you come. I want you to name the 4 people you bring and the 4 things you have to bring with you when you stay.
That's a very loaded question. I was not expecting that. That's a lot. That's a lot of things to consider. Well, your description of your 2-story trailer house sounds like it's something out of Fallout. I feel like maybe I'm gonna have to get ready for wasteland living, making sure I'm out there, out in the Commonwealth, keeping safe.
Tell them about your cousin, Jericho.
Well, they starred in Fallout. They're some of the super mutants. I'm going to let you know that there's at least $65.
$65
with us.
Do you just step over them, like step on them to get to the other side of the house? That seems like a lot.
Listen, we have a 110 window unit in each window in the double wide.
Perfect. Okay, so I think I know what I'm going to bring. I'm going to bring a dog whistle. I just feel like if you have to round up all those dogs, you need something to help out, and I'm more than willing to help. I'm going to bring some rad medicine because I feel like this is out of Fallout. I'm going to bring some potluck. I came up in a chef background. I'll bring some pulled pork, some brisket, and the last thing I'll bring is I think I'll bring the weed. You got to light up. Hey, man, we'll bring more.
Hell yeah, I
You
got
gotta
the
light
mood
up
right
and
now.
tell some stories, think about the universe and shit. Be fun.
Oh wow. Okay. What
All right, four people I bring from
KSI?
KSI. My buddy KSI River 7. It's one of my first guys who trained up. KSI Ronald 7, who is one of my close friends in the divisional staff, helped me build my PlayStation division. I'd bring KSI Anubis 7, one of my first mentors. And then for shits and gigs, I think I would bring KSI Monkey. He's probably our sweetest member. It's my favorite person to talk to. Every time I talk to him, I feel so much better about myself. And he's just a great person in general. I love the guy to death.
Okay.
All right, about my Hall of Fame spot.
All right.
It's
okay. We'll talk. We'll negotiate.
Hey,
I'll bring cardboard.
how do you how do you feel about apple juice?
Shit's fire, man. I got a fucking 4-liter bottle sitting in the fridge waiting for me.
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
Big boy.
Oh yeah. Gotta stay hydrated, folks. Gotta get that vitamin C.
What about
No, it makes you dehydrate. You gotta have some water with that shit.
Oh, I was pretty sure, bro.
Yeah.
Like that shit don't seem. It's like, what was that fucking movie we talked about in the last episode? Fucking TerrorCode.
Shit. What movie
With
did
the
we
Brondo or whatever? The fucking. Oh, they're putting Gatorade on the crops.
Oh shit! Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. Yeah, we're gonna put fucking apple juice on our crops.
Make it grow.
Make it grow, man. That's what plants crave.
Yeah, that's sounds like a good time. So,
all right.
So you got your 4 things. You got your 4 peeps. Do you think you could last?
I'm pretty confident. I'm a bit of a fucking delinquent. I think I'd be fine.
Word. So
I'm 27.
How old are you? 27. Okay. All right. We'll make this a thing. So pencil him in as a sponsor, Corey. He agreed, kinda.
A sponsor of what?
The Eco House.
Shit.
That sounds like fun. Well, I get a billboard.
Well,
I just traded your Hall of Fame status for a sponsorship.
I wouldn't be the first.
Bro, come on. You can't go out there and make the accusation and joke about it later. What? Come on. It's funny. Like, don't get me wrong. It's fucking hilarious. Come on. You're better than this.
Listen.
I think we broke him. I think he's broken, dude. I'm concerned.
Corey, we traded your Hall of Fame spot for the sponsorship.
Dude, look. If we could just get fucking like someone wild in there, like Jack Harlow, you guys don't even need to know who that is. I just want Jack Harlow in the KSI Hall of Fame. Can we get KSI Oja BB
who the fuck are you talking? What
is in there?
Oh,
the YouTuber KSI, the fucking rapper that has a song with Offset now, dude. Hey, he does stand for knowledge.
He makes more money than all of us. We should be consulting him.
Bro, when you Google KSI, I have to go to page,
it's like page 2, but yeah.
To find the website.
Yeah, no. Well, the other thing too is like you get up insurance companies. There's like a soccer league. Man, those letters got overused.
There's also a fucking like.
Hey, what does KSI stand for? Because we had Deadmeat on.
Right. So if you talk to Deadmeat, in his mind, it's probably Killing Services Incorporated. I would imagine. Yeah, I think I'm not too familiar with when it changed, but like 2008, 2009, I feel like it changed to Knowledge, Strength, and Integrity. I think they just wanted to make it look a little bit more professional, a little bit more adult oriented. Killing Services was more kind of like in reference to the origins, right? So I think they just changed the name. I don't really know much about that, to be honest. There are better people to talk about it, but I do know that there's the 2 different names and 2 different brandings, just based on when you were in KSI.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, I'm gonna pitch something to y'all. All right, Creekwater Gaming Network.
Sounds like something out of fucking Letterkenny, bud.
Dude,
can confirm.
I love fucking Letterkenny.
What's all this about?
Okay, Spud, you want to go up and hit the teamies, and we'll go play shinny on the.
All right, I asked TerrorCode this, but why square? Okay, look. Why square girls? Okay, look. Why is Canadian girls'
I have
asses
no
so
idea.
square? Please answer this.
Is it like? Is it legit? Oh, I thought this was a setup for a joke. Oh, I couldn't.
No, their backs are just very long, dude.
Lower center of gravity up here. I don't know. Maybe it's polarity. Maybe it's all snow.
I don't know, man. They got.
I don't want to speak to people. Like that's.
What, you don't want?
Oh no, I'd have to apologize too much, man.
Female?
I have to make a statement. I would have to.
True. Dude,
I'm from Ontario, a place called Hamilton, just south of Toronto. I have seen Drake.
You've seen Drake?
I went to a Raptors game not too long ago before the COVID stuff went out, and he's right down there, right at seats.
This is gonna be the longest
That's totally fine.
podcast ever. You
gotta set the bar, right?
I don't care.
Do you guys have any closing statements or comments you want to make while we're wrapping it up?
He's always doing this. Well,
I do. I want to know about my fucking.
I don't think that's going to happen. Unfortunately, the one requirement of the KSI Hall of Fame is to be in KSI. Like,
look, if I don't get it, I'm gonna be pissed. I split 2 divisions, got the board of directors before the age of 15. All right, literally. Are we really going to let a few tweets get between me and my destiny?
I will say this about any Hall of Fame for you. The process is more open. We're considering people that never got considered before. We're trying to make sure those who feel like they might have been gypped a little bit or they might not have been given the recognition they deserve are beginning to right now. It will be a process that we go through once or twice a year with new additions to the Hall of Fame.
And why was I kicked from the server for some just?
Oh, I thought you left. You want back?
Yes, I was.
Oh, kicked. I have no idea who kicked you. I'll go through the.
Dude, can I go into the server and can I tag everyone and say this is awkward?
You weren't in
who
this
kicked
server.
Me? While you're checking.
Hold on. Whoa. Hey man, if you want to be with us so bad, just come say hello. We'll have a potluck. We'll do barbecue. Share a couple drinks.
What?
Invite me in there. We'll set it up. I'm joking.
In the future, we're looking to kind of open up our server. We'd like to do like an LFG for people not in clans, different platforms, and just have more people to play with. It won't be a lot of guests, but it'll be looking for group. So looking for group is a concept.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, what's that other one that I'm thinking about? LGBTQ?
That's a lot.
Hey, I fuck with them the long way, bro. Dude, I fuck with people that play ARC, dude. So I support the gay community.
Fuck ARC.
Hey, if you like ARC, fuck you. All right.
I'm more of a Destiny guy myself.
That's endorsed by K7 and KSI. KSI and K7 said if you play ARC,
if you play ARC, you're okay as well.
Hell yeah.
I'm a buzzkill, dude. I'm a buzzkill. I'm sorry.
Who are you? Dude, come on. Can you just say fuck?
Like just to people in general?
Yeah.
All right. You ready for this? This is outside my comfort zone. I'm doing a lot. Like I'm going out of my way for you.
All right.
Just gonna give out a nice big fuck you to the folks at home. Listen in. Have fun listening to this podcast. Creators Corner is a really good show. I'm a fan.
All right. Hell yeah. I'm glad the beef is over now that I got to tell you how I felt. I feel better. Laundry, please close us out.
Hey guys, thanks for listening and tune in for the next episode of the Creators Corner.
Wow, that was lame.
I know. She tries to be so professional and fuck our whole.
I know, dude. I swear to God, I'm getting. Wait till I get the hell up out of this damn.
You guys need an intro. Like, you guys ever listen to some podcasts where they have like the automated intro? You guys should get one of those.
No, that's too professional.
Yeah, that's kind of a little farther than we're trying to.
Yeah, we're trying to make this as white trash. Like we almost dude, there was literally like cats fucking in the background. There's like shit going on. Like fucking, I literally went and took a piss. Like I didn't even mute. No one even heard me. I was like really silent pissing.
I'm surprised to hear a moonshine tone in the background there. Just starting to smoke up.
Oh no, we don't drink moonshine typically around here. You know what I'm saying? You get a whole bottle for $21.92.
I couldn't even fucking tell you what that is. That sounds delightful, though. Definitely want to check it out. I gotta get me some redneck.
It's
Well, that goes to the.
It's
That kind
grain
of
alcohol.
tells you the quality of the microphone on my jitterbug because I actually have been stoking my steel the whole time I've been recording this
You've been
podcast.
stroking your what?
Stoking the fire in my steel, cooking moonshine.
I don't want to hear about your horny shit. All right, we're getting off here. Terrorcode, say goodbye to the crowd one more time.
All right, raise hell, praise Dale.
Yeah.